Hi everyone, I'm Fred and I did my fellowship project with the SherlockML team at ASI. During this time, I developed a package called Revelio, which helps you create data science APIs using just magic. Now, this is Hermione, and for those of you who are not obsessed with Harry Potter like me, Hermione is pretty smart. She's a data scientist. She spends a lot of her time gathering data, cleaning data. Then she creates a nice data science model that gives a great prediction. But then she has to actually deploy this, meaning she has to bring it to the masses. She has to allow users to actually use her model and gain some business insights. Now, at the core of this deployment process is something called an API. Now, let me just explain to you, in the case for data science APIs, how this works. Basically, you have some data that you send to your model in the form of what we call a request. This model then evaluates the data, makes a prediction, and sends it back to the user in a response. Now, normally, Hermione asks her friend Harry to help out with this. Harry's a data engineer. He knows what he's doing. Hermione's a data scientist and would rather spend her time actually doing data science. Now, Harry knows that data science APIs and the whole deployment process should be very secure. You should have proper authentication, and you need robust APIs that actually work and don't break. Now, unfortunately, Harry has to go off on a little adventure. He has to go fight an evil wizard and save the wizarding world. No big deal. So Hermione's kind of left to her own devices. Fortunately for her, she uses Sherlock, so a lot of the deployment process is already made easier for her. So she doesn't have to worry too much about authentication. That's all pretty simple. The connection is going to be secure and so on, but she still has to write some code to actually create the API itself. Now, this is a very simple example of a kind of data science API, and you can see that it's not a lot of code. You can get the model Hermione can get her model that she created, get the API, and just write a few lines of code. That means you can take in the data, make the prediction, and send the prediction back to the user. Now, this is great if everything works. You don't really need much more than this. However, what if something goes wrong? And we know in real life, things go wrong all the time, unfortunately. So this could be something like the user sending in the data that's not correct. The data might be the wrong format. It could also be that Hermione's model is actually not working right now, or something as simple as a network connection. So we all know there's like 404 page not found error. That kind of thing could happen. Unfortunately, a lot of the time, actually, you just get a nice little 500, which doesn't tell you anything at all. It just says something's broken, and you don't know what it is. Now, this is where Revelio comes in. So using our package, you just need this one little line of code, which actually creates a very robust API for you. So one of the advantages is that if the user doesn't know what kind of data the model wants, it can just look at the documentation that's created automatically. You can just ask the API, and it'll tell you what kind of data you need, what format it's meant to be in. The other thing is that if you accidentally send the wrong data, it'll actually give you a very specific error. It'll tell you, actually, this data is the wrong size, or it's the wrong format, and you will know what's wrong. You will know what to do. So this means that the user can actually troubleshoot themselves and makes the whole experience as a user easier, and it means that Harry doesn't have to get involved. Now, the other good thing about this is that you can build lots of tools on top of this. So one thing we did was build a little dashboard that looks a bit like this, where Hermione can check that her model is actually working and that her API is working well. So you can see here, you have a nice little green tick to tell you everything's up and running. That's the basic thing you want to know. But you can also see how many people have used your model. So how many people have sent in data and got a prediction back. If something goes wrong, you also see what the errors are, and you can investigate. So Hermione doesn't have to go back to Harry all the time and bother him, but she can actually look at it herself. So I hope I've shown you that Revelio makes the data science deployment process so much easier. It means that Harry can go and save the wizarding world, and Hermione can actually do data science, which is what she wants to do, rather than spend hours trying to create data science APIs. So I hope you think this is interesting. We're going to publish this hopefully as an open source package, and if you're interested, feel free to come chat to me. Thank you very much.